Can you hear me well? Yes, great. Welcome back after the second coffee break. We're going to continue with the last part of this presentation round here in this hall with very interesting speakers and topics today on AI. Just a few reminders once again from me. There is still available marketplace, so you can go there and have a look what the companies have to offer, what products they have regarding AI, and also you can still try Tesla Autopilot. So I hope that you're going to use all the activities that are here offered by the companies and by Deutsche Telekom IT Solutions Slovakia. And now we are going to talk about how to involve non-technical users, that's something for me, in large-scale AI ML projects. We've got here the founder and CEO of Practicus AI, a startup which is based in Seattle, and it builds in the next generation an open AI and ML platform. Before that, he was the head of business development at AWS, but also working for Microsoft. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Hakan Eren.
Hello. Hello. Can you hear me? Perfect. Well, thank you for having me. I was looking for an excuse to come over to Europe, although it was a bit of a hassle to come. I'm very happy to be here and joining you today. What a loaded title, right? Even to read, we're going to take 40 minutes. But today, we will be talking about involving non-technical users, which are usually business users and domain experts, into the AI and ML process. That's not what we only do as a company. Practicus AI is a data science platform that data scientists and data engineers can also use. And actually, that's our larger user base. But our mission from day one has been to be more inclusive platform so that people who don't live and breathe Python can also be part of the AI and ML process. So as part of the introduction, it was mentioned that I was, before Practicus AI, I was at AWS. And I have to say, the reason that I spent the time 5 years at AWS, which I was the employee number one at AWS Business Development, so it was one person from our business development side and another person from engineering side, and then we said, yeah, let's do machine learning. And it started there to almost like $1 billion run rate services family at AWS. It has been one hell of a journey. And the experiences I got through that time actually led to the creation of Practicus AI. I will mention a little bit on that part too. Before I get started, since I wasn't in the previous session, maybe this question was already asked, but to understand the audience better, let's say from level 100 to level 400. 400, you live and breathe, Python and R, machine learning algorithms. And level 100, maybe you have seen the movie Ex Machina about AI. Can I see hands like 400s? Any PhDs in data science? No? 300? 200? 200? 100 is the rest. So good. Then you're in the right session. We also have technical sessions. When we speak, sometimes these technical sessions focus on especially involving LLMs, generative AI. That's the hot topic, right? If our title was something generative AI, I can guarantee you more people would show up, in the room. But nevertheless, generative AI and LLMs is a big topic. It has been a big topic for us too, and we integrated that, I will show in a few minutes, so that non-technical users actually can almost talk to the machine, and then they are part of the data science lifecycle. So let me jump right in. First of all, one thing, let's see if this works. It does. So one thing that caught my attention in the 5 years at AWS before, this is all before, Practicus AI, is that the maturity level between organizations when it comes to AI is massive, and this gap is actually opening up. It's widening. At AWS, my biggest customers on AI were companies like Netflix, Uber, Airbnb, Apple, Facebook. And I can tell these companies right now, even today, they almost live on a parallel universe. It's very different than the rest of the world. But when you look at those companies, one of the things that's almost inevitable for those companies is that data science and machine learning is not the job of a small group of people. Almost exclusively, it is, for these organizations, it's a wide range of personas get involved into the process. And there are a couple of reasons for this, why these companies, almost everybody is like a data scientist, but they don't code. Like, what is the reason for that? So when we look at why these companies do that, let's talk a few minutes about the challenges. Like, what are the challenges that these companies faced 10 years ago, so they had to transform to what we mentioned? Well, first of all, one of the largest challenges of our industry right now is that there are not enough data professionals, data scientists and data engineers. And nowadays, we also see shortage on ML ops as well. That's a big problem, and I don't think that problem is going to be resolved anytime soon. The second big problem here is that data scientists are not domain experts. I cannot stress how important this problem is. And for that, I'll give you an example. One of the godfathers of machine learning is an individual named Robert Tipsiriani. He's a professor at Stanford University. And if you heard the lasso method, which from raising of hands, I can tell you haven't, but it's a very important machine learning algorithm. He's the creator of that. It's a big dude, when it comes to machine learning. And he's telling this story that him and one of his colleagues are in a room. They are discussing on the screen a data set. And they're, heated discussion, and someone comes back to the room. It's a medical professor, and he has coffee in his hands, goes out for 5 minutes, and comes back, and he's looking at the screen. What are you looking at? All of these people would be long dead. They don't know medical. They don't know biology. They don't know that those metrics were wrong for humans. So they were looking at the wrong data. And Robert, in that presentation, you can find it online, by the way, if you search for his name. This is online. He explains that machine learning can't be done without domain experts, period. Now, when I say machine learning, we are talking about, of course, data science type machine learning. Machine learning, you can divide also to two. One is, tabular data. There's a pattern in the data. This customer bought this, what should I sell next? This customer clicked this button, what should I show next? This type of data, usually referred to as advanced analytics or data science, is what we are talking about today. Another type of machine learning is cognitive. I can see, I can hear, I can understand what you're talking about. For that, we are all domain experts. Because since a baby, we talk, we see, we identify objects. I'm not talking about cognitive today. The advanced analytics and cognitive are also merging, especially the last 1 year or so, thanks to generative AI. Now we take, for instance, things like, I look at the data and I'm going to analyze it, but I can't code. What do I do? So they are now merging a little bit, but still the two is distinctively separate, and we are talking about advanced analytics. So this is a big problem. They don't know. PhDs in data science don't know the business, and it takes 10 years sometimes to learn. The third big problem is trust and political issues. So imagine this. You do this business for 20 years, let's say finance or telecommunications or insurance, and someone comes and says, hey, well, guess what? I'm smarter than you. I have a PhD in data science. You don't. And we built the model. It makes the decisions. Now this is the way we're going to run the business. What happens? Doesn't work, right? And I've seen this over and over and over again. You build these models, amazing, beautiful models, huge amounts of money are spent, but they are not consumed because sometimes of these political issues. And lastly, we are not going to be talking about it today, but a really large challenge is also operations. You build it, you did it, okay, fine, it's doing what you want to do, but how do you operationalize? Secure, scalable, all the requirements. That's almost half the time is spent for that. These are AWS statistics. These are not mine, but I took the liberty to use them in my company presentations too. What is the result of these challenges? Well, first of all, machine learning projects are expensive. So if you don't know, you should know. Be ready. The total cost of ownership of these projects are very high. And another one is the amount of time we measured from idea to pilot around 6 months. This is across the board. I'm not talking Netflix is doing it this way, but roughly for industry, these are the averages. And this is one of the actually biggest concerns that I have, is that you build a project and your CEO goes to press, we do AI, we are such a cool company, come work for us, come be our customer, all the PR, okay? But 6 months later, you ask the same CEO, okay, what did you do? Like, what is your measured outcome? What did this machine learning AI thingy, offered you? We measured at the time that roughly 10% actually have measured outcome. So that's really, really unfortunate. So what is then Practicus AI approach? How are we trying to differentiate when it comes to this? And we are not active in Slovakia market. We are active in a couple of markets, the United States at the top, of course. But this presentation is actually not about getting you to be Practicus AI customers yet. Hopefully, a couple of years later, when we scale, we will be in the region too. But for now, this is about getting the idea, and you can implement similar solutions, or you can be the customer asking for similar approaches. So when we look at, wow, there are boxes and graphics and whatnot on this, but you can't see any of it. Interesting. But boxes. So this is how you spend your time and effort, right? Let's say to build the model. So again, there are stuff over there, but you get the idea. Data exploration and preparation is 90% of the time. So this means that a PhD in data science looks at the data, okay, I can build an amazing machine learning model from this, but actually what happens before takes almost 90% of the time. Find the data, which is finding a needle in a haystack sometimes, and then get the data in a format that you can do machine learning on top of. That is the part, actually, we need to involve more business users, as you would expect, because when they look at raw data, a business domain expert can make a call using their cognitive abilities. In 30 seconds, this is the right direction, this is the wrong direction, that a data scientist could spend weeks trying to build a successful machine learning model, which would be a waste. So let's keep that in mind. Now, of course, this is only one part, right? I would highly urge every new machine learning team, project, company, please keep in mind that if you leave operations to last, security to last, you will regret. And then you will remember me, oh, that guy from Seattle told us, so please don't do that. Not today's discussion, but please keep that in mind as well. So look, taking all these challenges and amount of time spent, etc., this is what we recommend. Build an AI experimentation funnel. Netflix has it, Airbnb has it, Uber has it, you should have it too. This is the way it goes. So for some organizations, when I say thousands of AI models, it just gets lost in air. But I had customers back in the day that had more than 50,000 models. Because what they do is every single customer of theirs have their dedicated AI model. It's automated. So I do something. These are usually B2B, but sometimes B2C as well. There are layers and layers of systems that can build AI models for, particular for that customer. So it is really possible to have thousands of machine learning models. And our recommendation is that non-technical users should be able to end-to-end, this is the crucial part, be able to experiment themselves. If you make it this way, you will fail. You business user, do all the plumbing, find the data, all the hard part, and then when it's ready, come to me, the data scientist, so I can build a model, will not work. Because non-technical users should also feel like they are doing something. Oh, you click it, you do something, and you see a result right away. I cannot send it, and somebody does something, AutoML or whatever, and then come back to me, good job, keep doing what you're doing. We have seen not being very successful. So they should be able to experiment themselves end to end. Meaning, find the data, clean, generate a model, make predictions, voila. Now I know with, say, 95% accuracy which customers I will lose in the next 3 months. Their eyes will shine, and they will put time and effort into your processes. Of course, not every machine learning project and model can be built by non-technical users. We are not saying that. What we are saying is technical users should own the highest impact ones. And of course, there's a support mechanism in place, and this part is super important. You should also implement a graduation system. Again, I see this being implemented in many organizations and being very successful. What does that mean? Non-technical user, for instance, I can give an example. Georgia Pacific in the United States, a business user is playing around with data, find a model, and then there's a graduation system, almost like a parent trying to graduate their children from university. This person nominates, hey, you look at this model, I was able to do something, and I think I'm on the right track. So that project goes on and becomes a technical person-owned production model that saves Georgia Pacific $10 million a year. Out of the blue, comes from a non-technical user. It is possible. Of course, when we talk about all of these, then the question becomes, okay, great, nice talk, but what is that? Who does, or which tools or which systems can be used to involve these non-technical users? If you talk to talk, but can you walk to walk, essentially? And for that, now this is almost a slide, that I'm explaining 6 years ago that I decided to create a Practicus AI, and maybe you can gain some insights from that too. When we look at the market today, you see that there are two options to do data science. One is you code, obviously, which was my product at AWS, SageMaker. You create notebooks, Jupyter, you code. Great. If you don't do that, then the second alternative, what I call boxes and arrows. Boxes, arrows. It looks like this. So you just box, arrow. And I'm kind of old. So when I started, early in my career in 1998, we had a Microsoft tool, DTS. Old people could remember. So it worked like this. You had connections, you had tasks, and then you had connections between connections and tasks, essentially. So fast forward to 2023, most non-technical oriented tools still work this way. Now, believe it or not, they still work this way. This approach is good for engineers or people with engineering mindset, but it is not ideal for business users. We tried. Before AWS, Microsoft, 10 years, we tried. I don't think it works. So then the million-dollar question becomes, what is the thing to do then, right? For that, one starting statistics for me was that there are an estimated almost 2 billion, up to 2 billion spreadsheet users in the world. There are 8 billion people, 2 billion of them touch or use spreadsheets at some capacity. So why then we technology people be a little elitist and trying to bring them where we are instead of going where they are? Was the founding principle of Practicus AI. And if you're curious, I was confused. Why do people like spreadsheets? There's got to be something. And this is what I found. Not sure if this is the reason, but this is what I found, which is Mammals think 2D. I didn't know that. I always thought we think 3D, right? No. Prey, run, hunt. Predator, run, left, right, forward, back. We are not, birds. We are not fish. So we think 2D. That could be the reason. And of course, you can't do machine learning with Excel. I'm not even going to go through, all these. And that brings us to then the potential solution that you can build it yourself. Doesn't have to practice AI, but this is our approach. Start with usability for sure. That's the starting point, but make sure the other 6 ability is there. If you only focus on usability, you will fail. If you don't do usability right, you will be successful, but people won't use it. And another thing we learned the hard way was just because someone can use a technology doesn't mean they will. You will train them, they will go through all the processes and the steps. They can use it, but they won't. So we need to address that as well. Now, normally this presentation, we spend like an hour. I have 30 minutes, trying to speed up my talking a little, but we won't go through many of the details. I'm going to fast forward a bunch of slides here to give you an idea how this could all stitch together. And after that, we're going to spend the rest of the time on Q&A, so you guys can, pierce some of the topic that we mentioned and maybe we can narrow it down to an area that's more interest to you. What we did was, first of all, we built an app. There are other ways to use our platform, but we said who uses spreadsheets and how they use spreadsheets, usually an app. They download Excel. So we said, okay, fine, we'll give you an app. You get it from the App Store. You don't have to, by the way. There are many table-style solutions that you can use, but that's what we did. Of course, there are other alternatives as well. And we want users to do 5 things and then collaborate around it. Every time you open our app, we even remind it. These are the things you do. We learned the hard way that you need to remind constantly, this is the process. You explore, and then you analyze data, then you prepare it, then you build a model, and then you build a prediction based on that model, and rinse and repeat over and over. So that's one thing we learned. You need to remind it constantly. This is how our app, starts with exploration. You need to somehow give access to your business users raw data. You cannot do machine learning, and I'm not saying you might not be able to. I'm telling you, almost guarantee, you won't be able to do machine learning with aggregated data. So let's say you have a data engineering practice in your organization. Data comes, ETL, clean up, go to a data warehouse, visualization. That won't be enough for data science. So you need to somehow make raw data as in it could be operational data, it could be cleaned up operational data, layers after layers, but it has to be somehow pre-ETL data. After that, analyze, we do many things in our platform, but one must-have is profiling. There are many open source profilers out there, and our experience is that you can teach profiling to business users. And in case you don't know, with profiling, what you can do is you understand your data in a way that you understand correlations. For instance, this data set, you can't read it. This is a little blurry, but this is a famous data set. It's about diamonds and predicting diamond prices. What is one important correlation? Well, diamonds, carat weight, and price. So when you profile the data, those correlations are the first step towards understanding those correlations, are the first step towards feature engineering, and therefore AutoML. Now, this part is the biggest pain point. I don't know how you will figure it out, but you should spend most of your time figuring out this part. How do you prepare data? because raw data is going to be there. And to a degree, we found out that business users will understand the data. It's usually their data anyways. They know their data. But getting it to a state that you can do machine learning on is tough. For that, our approach has been this. Step one, up to 70%, you should be able to click and get your data in the shape or format that you want. When that's not enough, you write some basic formulas. In our case, we use Excel formula one-on-one compatibility, meaning if you can write a formula in Excel, you can write a formula here to increase adoption. If that's not enough, well, many business users know SQL. And the challenge with SQL is that you want to use SQL on any kind of data set. Maybe it's an Excel file. How are you going to run SQL on Excel? These are challenges that you might be careful about. And that's not enough. Well, you need to use Python. Now, up until 8 months or so ago, when we explained this, some business users, of course, would roll their eyes. Oh, again, technology, And we would say, hey, this is the time to collaborate between technical and non-technical. Then I should say maybe we were lucky, maybe just right on time on the market. What we did was we were the first company that I know of that we took ChatGPT and integrated into the products. And that was our booming moment. As a startup, one thing you realize that you come from a big company, everybody meets you. Then you are a startup, nobody meets you in the beginning. So suddenly, everybody wanted to talk to us. Oh, that's the cool thing. My manager is asking about, my CEO is asking about ChatGPT, generative AI. So how do we do it? It was spot on for us because what we did, I'll give you just the experience a little bit. To analyze the data or to prepare the data, you click of a button. On the click of a button, you ask a question. And what we do is, maybe today you mentioned, it was mentioned in some of our sessions, you do prompt engineering. You essentially take what people say, and people will write interesting things. Let me just put it that way. You need to work on it a little bit. You need to gather the context, because ChatGPT is not that smart. When we first started, we thought it's smarter than it is, but it is not. So you need to give the right context, which is one of the most important things about prompt engineering, figure out the context. What is the user trying to do? And then join the two. What is being told? What is the context? Send it to ChatGPT. We are working with other LLMs too, but right now ChatGPT. And then we get Python code, apply to the data, and show the results. Another nice thing that we do that was welcomed a lot was that if you click the advanced button, this one, it doesn't have a pointer, I guess. Anyways, if you click the advanced button, we real-time show you the code. So you keep on asking the question, we keep on changing Python code. So it's also a good tool to learn, because not every business user says absolutely no to technology. Some of them want to learn. That was a hit. It's been used a lot for the past few months. Another thing we do in the advanced section is that don't give me Python, give me SQL. We also added a little later, but it was more interesting than we expected, because the business users who know SQL actually don't want Python. They asked the ChatGPT and keep on seeing SQL, and we are hearing feedback. Hey, I didn't know you could do this in SQL. So they are learning more about SQL as well. So I am like 10% of my slides already run out of time, but I'll just keep moving the rest very easily, very quickly. Click of a button, you build an AutoML. It's open source, so it builds the model, and then that model we embed into ML flow. This is huge, very important. What the non-technical user has to be able to share with the technical user. So when they build the AutoML model, it comes to a point the technical user will say, where did you get here? How? What happened in the past? So a common repository for machine learning models is very important, and experiment details. because then the data scientist can say, oh, that's the reason the model is working this way. That's the central repository, MLflow. And click, you deploy. Once you deploy, it's an API. Again, a business user doesn't need to know this. It can be consumed by anyone. But another super important part, these integration points, technical, non-technical, how do they collaborate, right? For us, for instance, anytime somebody builds a model, we export it to Swagger, a little technical here maybe, but it's essentially an API documentation. So developer can tap into, oh, that business user built a model, they use Java or Python, whatever, consume the model. That's also very important. And none of the graphics are showing on the screen. There are lots of arrows actually on that. But this is, I'll stop here because we won't have time for Q&A. But the rest, I was talking a little bit about how to involve non-technical users in the operations part. I built the model, now what? How does it work every night? Once a week. Get the data, clean it, build the model, compare models, A/B test, and so on and so forth. But we won't be getting to that part. So let's use, how much time I have? 5 minutes? 10? 5? 5? Let's do some Q&A. This was probably a lot in just such a short time frame, but I'll be out if you're interested. Other than that, please shoot your questions.
Thank you very much. Yes, I think that we've got some questions in Slido, so I can read it.
Read
them for you. What would your recommendations be to complete AI newbie? How, where to start learning about AI and using it?
Learning AI? As a technical user?
As a complete AI newbie. This is a question. So yeah,
complete AI newbie. There are books, good books. Actually, we have a nice set of books we recommend. I can't tell from top of my head, but if whoever asking person, is my email over there?
It's anonymous, no. But maybe...
I can share those reading material. Yeah. This is a question we hear a lot. What are the training resources, books? And I can share that list. If you reach out to me, Hakan@practicus.ai. That's my name, company.ai. Please do that.
Maybe LinkedIn, if you have
LinkedIn. Yeah, sure. Yeah, if you hit me up outside, I can give you my LinkedIn and then share over LinkedIn too.
And there is one more question. What kind of threats related to AI solutions do you expect in upcoming years?
What kind of threats, as in security or threats to humanity, our existence, or all of them? Okay. Well, the biggest threat that we see right now is job security. So actually, this is something that's happening for a couple of decades already. But what we are seeing is that many companies are looking for ways to employ very few number of people and do a lot with AI. So what are we going to do? I can see 60% of the white-collar workforce in the next 5 to 10 years potentially losing their jobs. That will be number one. I don't believe in the Terminator risk, at least for now. And there are operational and security challenges as well. And there is also, this is a big deal right now in the United States, about equality. Your models are favoring people at a particular race, particular background. That's a big problem as well. Who are your customers and users? We have we're cross-industry. So we have in finance, some of our biggest customers, and telco too. Deutsche Telekom is not one of them, but maybe one day. Those are where we saw the biggest traction. Are there any similarities between US and EU startup environment? I haven't done startup in EU, so I don't know. But I can tell that in the west coast of the United States, it's almost like a gang. The startup ecosystem and the company ecosystem, not allowing anyone from outside to enter. That is real. Other than that, similarities, as I said, I cannot really compare because I haven't done startup in EU.
I wanted to ask one thing, and maybe that's a stupid question, but I will try.
No, there's no stupid question. Never.
As I told you before, I'm not a technical type of a person.
We should onboard you to Practicus.
Yeah, but
Free for you.
Thank you very much. I mean, is this collaboration between non-technical and technical people, does it always work? Because me, as a non-technical type, I'm not the type, so I'm not so much interested in it. Just like maybe in some things. Does it always work? Are they willing to learn and collab within that process?
It rarely works. It's the opposite. It's very hard because it's like almost these people, oftentimes, they are from like different universes. And on one side, the technical part, we see a lot of arrogance, even unspoken, but deep down, like you don't know, I know. That's one of the biggest risks that we see. But other than that, different styles and collaboration is hard no matter what. Who believes your collaboration is easy? If you think so, I have a lot to learn from you, but it's already hard, right? And when it comes to machine learning, the whole thing is new. It's full of threats. Sometimes our customers tell this to us. You go to a department and they're looking at you. You're here to take my job. Okay, go figure. How are you going to collaborate? So there's no easy answer for that. But what I know is if you can't do it, you won't be able to survive as a company. So there's that too.
Of course. Yes, that's true. Martin is asking, how do you involve business users in the ML process if unstructured data is crucial for their business case?
Unstructured data is tough. So what I would recommend, first of all, again, this is a whole 1 hour topic, but I'm a big believer of the data lake concept. In the data lake concept, especially with the medallion architecture, you have your bronze. Bronze is unstructured, semi-structured, structured. You just dump it in. And then from bronze, you move to silver, meaning a little better. Not there yet, but a little better. And gold is business user, almost aggregated. This customer bought this product. This type of customer bought this type of product or this product. So you need to have these, and there's no easy answer. But one thing we have seen, not what we do as a company, Practicus AI comes into the picture after bronze and silver. But from my days at AWS, what I can tell you is that when you define the building blocks first, then you have a data ingest and of course, enrichment strategy. And for that, you can use ready-to-use services. For instance, unstructured data comes in, maybe there's, let's give an example. This is a very popular example, by the way. People call centers. In the beginning, they're like, damn you, blah, blah, blah. And then towards the end, wow, actually, it was my mistake. So then what you do, you understand the sentiment, right? Unstructured data slowly becomes structured. So in the first 5 minutes, the sentiment is like, F you. Slowly moves toward, well, maybe not so much to, oh, actually, F me, So how do you transition that, and how do you break it down into structured content? That's part of the data ingestion strategy, and you can use ready-to-use services. I wouldn't recommend building your own. It's very tough, but that's one probably answer. Let me quickly go to, actually I can read them here, right? What would your recommendation be to a complete AI new, oh, that's what we...
it was before, it's not deleted or hidden, but the last one.
Okay.
Are people afraid to use AI, that AI will replace them? It's the topic that we've been talking about whole
Absolutely, day especially, so people who are AI masters, they're like, haha, I got you, And people who are target, of course, we see that a lot right now. And I've been working on this for 15 years. Now, I don't have an answer for that. So I'm actually more confused probably compared to you. What's going to happen 5 years from now? We are in the center of it on the transformation, but every company is different. Every company's culture is different. What I learned, though, I'm doing technology for more than 25 years. What I learned is that everything's an opportunity, right? No matter what. So I sound a lot like an American right now. I'm not. I'm American, but I moved there 30 years ago. So what I feel here is that there are ways to take this and turn it into something that works for everybody. That I truly believe. So time will show.
I think that was the right, a nice finish. Just use the opportunity and find the opportunity within AI. Yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you very much. That was
Thank you. Thanks for
Hakan
having
Eren.
me.